Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Workforce and Business Resources series, connecting you with what you need to know. I am Craig Slosher, one of the Vice Presidents at the Middlesex County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of the organization, I'd like to welcome you to How Games Can Level Up and Engage Your Workforce. I'm going to be joined by Kirk Madison, Vice President of Sales at 1Huddle, and Mike Painter, Senior Sales Development Rep at 1Huddle today. But before we start, I wanted to do just a quick overview of our partnership that we have with 1Huddle, which goes back about, I'm going to say, about 12 to 16 weeks ago when the world was a very different place. I first got a chance to connect and engage with 1Huddle through an introduction within my network, and I got a chance to meet their SAM CEO who did a presentation for us about a month ago when we started the Open for Business program. And as we all know right now, the changes that are taking place in the workplace are drastic and quick. And one thing that we felt at the Chamber that was really important to do is provide the resources and tools for our members to have opportunity to be successful in the new norm. And 1Huddle has just been an absolute fabulous partner for us in doing that. For the past 6 weeks, we've done a great job producing our Open for Business Growth and Development Series webinars. Those programs take place on Tuesday through Thursday. We have our Workforce and Business Resources. And on Wednesday, we've had a fabulous job done by our Emerging Leaders for Developing You. And then on Thursdays, we have our Technology and Business Development. Each week, we're able to put together high-quality content and engage our membership base. But as we looked forward with it, we felt that there was a lot of things we could do to make it more accessible and easier for that information to be shared, but also allow for that retention and development and growth. The stronger our people are, the stronger our organizations are. And that's really where our conversation started with 1Huddle. So, Mike, if you'd go to the next slide real quick. 1Huddle is an application that's available on your mobile device and also via your desktop. And it operates under the principle of gamification, which Mike and Kirk will get into a little bit more later. What I thought was really great about this is the ability for us to put in our recordings of our presentations all in one place, have quick questions in there that you can take and do a 60 to 120 second game in there to test your retention and keep taking it over and over again. And then on top of that, what I thought was really fantastic was there's an off-the-shelf library of games that are available. I took the networking game and I took care of it, and I got one question wrong, but the question I got wrong, I learned a lot about. I found that by, getting a question wrong and then learning from it and then retaking that application again was a really great way for me not only to build my confidence that I had gained new knowledge, but also at the same time, too, allow me to understand that sometimes it's okay not to know the answer. And right now, we don't always know the answer. And the more we learn, the better off we can become. So within this partnership, if you want to go to the next slide, Mike, that we have with it, every chamber member and every client in the New Jersey Small Business Development Center through our partnership with 1Huddle through Open for Business will have mobile app and website access. Each member has the ability to have unlimited users and associated with the number of members that they have within their organization associated with their chamber membership. They have admin controls and dashboards. They're going to have access to 12 of 1Huddle's most popular training games. That could be LinkedIn Sales Navigator that's already available. It could be the networking game. There's a whole bunch of different applications in there. And each week in the daily update, we're going to feature a new game that's our most popular one. One thing that I think is really exciting about this that we're going to do, we're going to play a competition and a game. And I cannot tell you what a great job the 1Huddle team has done in really helping me understand how this is not just a learning management tool, but it's also a way to create that two-way engagement opportunity. So we're going to put together competitions each week for who has the highest score or different endeavors, and then we're going to allow whoever has that to win certain things. It could be a gift card to a local restaurant. It could be a free ticket to the breakfast. It could be an opportunity to hear all of my best jokes. Either way, there will be an opportunity in there to drive engagement and really allow people to feel comfortable that they can be more and know that they're supported. But what's also really important about this is that every member organization will get the opportunity to build 25 custom training games. Now, the application's design that I thought was really great is that you as a frontline manager, HR representative, business owner, can deploy this for your organization and you can build the games yourself. When we put the content in there, I've been able to go ahead and put content in And one thing that's really great is the 1Huddle team has done an awesome job in doing onboarding with me. I've done a lot of technology applications. This has been by far the best onboarding I have ever had. And what I think is really special about that is how much the team really goes to understand what we're trying to do from a chamber perspective here in a new path in how we're trying to do things, and then really work to make sure that the application is achieving our strategic business objective. And with that, it's about growing capabilities in our workforce and allowing people to move forward and have new opportunities. Because the whole purpose of the Open for Business program is about creating an opportunity for our businesses, our community, people, and towards a better tomorrow, and growing capabilities in terms of our current workforce. The confidence that we have in our abilities to learn new things and evolve are two huge things, and the 1Huddle platform is a great way for us to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Kirk and Mike, and again, thank you to both of you for your partnership and everything you're doing to make this absolutely a fantastic opportunity for our membership base, and I'm really excited to hear the rest of today's presentation. So thank you, gentlemen.
Well, Craig, thank you. We really appreciate, first of all, the partnership of the Middlesex County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and really just in general, I think your just desire and attitude towards using the platform. It's been absolutely fantastic during such a confusing and uncertain time to feel like there's someone trying to find the next way forward. It's really spiriting for us to see that happen. So just really quickly, my name is Kirk Madsen. I'm the VP of Sales for 1Huddle. I'm joined today by Mike Paintner on our sales team as well. I've been with the company for a little less than a month, actually, but I've known the company and the founder since inception. So I was actually the first manager ever to use the platform and have been a believer in it since day one. So I'm really excited to be a part of the team, really honored and privileged to be joining the group here today. And I'll turn it over to Mike for a quick intro and to kind of get us going.
Sure. Thanks, Kirk. My name is Mike Paintner. I'm a senior sales development rep here at 1Huddle. I've been with the company for just about 2 years now. I've also known the founder for quite some time. I actually interned for him in college about a decade ago, prior to 1Huddle actually being a product. It was more of an ideation on how to get people ready for work. But born and bred in New Jersey, I live in Teaneck, New Jersey. I used to work for a regional sporting goods chain, so spent a lot of time down in Middlesex. Been to a few of the events, chamber events as well. So I'm really excited to kind of kick this off, as well as share a little bit more about the company. So I think first, just a little bit about who we are. So as Craig kind of alluded to, we are a tech firm. We're based in Newark, New Jersey. Easiest way to think about 1Huddle for everybody here on the webinar today is think everything that an employee or a member needs to know to do their job. So all of your training, all of your communication, pretty much anything that an employee needs to know. We take all that stuff, we turn it into games, and we put it on employees' phones. Simply we're one of the fastest way to onboard, upskill, communicate with, and fire up teams. And we're doing it all with quick burst mobile games. And today we're doing it with a lot of brands. We work with about 100 logos today, been around for about 4.5 years. We're across, I'd say, about a dozen or so industries. So we're really diversified. And we're working with everyone from small businesses to enterprises, as well as a few organizations here in New Jersey, as you might be able to see on the screen. And one of the things that I'd love to touch on is, we get asked a lot, Kirk and I and everybody at 1Huddle, like, why games, right? Like, why should companies look at gaming mechanics when looking for ways to level up or engage their people? And I think to understand why games work, we have to look at a few realities today to understand that. And one of those realities is the workforce is different. We've never seen 5 generations of workers at work at the same time. And what we hear from companies, across the globe, across the country, in New Jersey, is that there's really like 3 things that organizations might struggle with today. And I think those 3 things are even more amplified now, given like today's remote work environment and kind of the disorientation and confusion of everything that's kind of been going on. Those 3 things are: how do we onboard new employees faster? And in today's environment, how do we re-onboard employees that might have been furloughed or let go as the economy starts to kick back? And so many millions of Americans are coming back to work. how do we upskill employees over the long haul? And of course, in today's environment, how do we keep employees from being disoriented on what to do and how to do when they're in a remote environment? And third, how do we keep everybody motivated? And I think the motivation thing is probably one of the most important pieces, because motivation, it's getting harder and harder. A recent study found that employees spend nearly 1/3 of their time at work not working. So that means that for any managers or C-suite that are in the room, 1/3 of every payroll dollar that's invested into employees is either being lost or wasted. And the interesting thing is, this isn't just a millennial thing. This is a problem with employees across the board in terms of finding that motivation. So when we look at that, we say, okay, what can companies do? We can create manuals, we can build e-learning courses, we can spend hours running training meetings and spend days set aside to bring in trainers. We really do it all, and there's no way around it. Training, communication, making sure that employees know what to do and when to do it, it's really time consuming. And I think a really interesting stat that kind of popped out to us is 91% of all training dollars that are spent today are either invested in multi-day trainers or learning platforms like LMS. And what makes that like such an interesting stat is we're not even really sure what's working. The latest research on how the brain learns found that employees forget over 70% of what they learn in a training in just 3 days, and up to 87% within 30. But I hope everybody's ready for the good news, because there really is some good news. And that's that today there's a huge opportunity. Because if you look closer at your workforce, you'll see some really cool realities as to why game mechanics like competition, rewards, leaderboards are the best way to level up employees. Like the fact that an average millennial today will have spent over 10,000 hours on a game platform by the age of 21. If you look at the 10,000 hour rule, that means that this is literally a generation that are experts on games. Or the fact that Americans are more mobile than ever. Americans are more likely to own a smartphone than they are to own a laptop. And also, 9 in 10 millennials say that they're better than a coworker. So it's a very competitive generation. But across the board, games as being a way to communicate information, to engage people, to drive motivation, it's not just a millennial thing. Everybody kind of understands the mechanics of a game. So that being said, we built a platform that not only through competition, rewards, leaderboards gets employees more excited and more engaged and connected at work, but will also upskill them over the long haul. So with 1Huddle, you can take anything that an employee needs to know. So any communication from a company, emails, manuals, modules, PDFs, e-learning courses, you can turn them into games in minutes. We also have 5 million, as Craig alluded to, 5 million pre-built questions, hundreds of games on our platform that can be blended with material that comes from a company. You can play games anytime, anywhere. So when I say a game, think of a game as like a module or a chapter in a book. Games take about 90 seconds to complete on average, so they're quick burst in nature. And again, everything is tied around competitions, badges, rewards, and leaderboards. And thirdly, driving competition. Certainly, having employees that are, we do a lot in the realm of compliance, and not everybody may want to take the latest compliance course.
As Mike was saying, we use a lot of leaderboard content and socialization to give you some visibility into how you're performing and how the rest of the organization is performing. So here, we'll get a little knock on Sam, our CEO. He's fourth in this game, so he probably needs to step it up a little bit. Mike, if you are able, can you jump to the next slide? And we're jumping right into the Chambers game here. So we'll scroll down. You see a few of the different games that we've got available. These are the pre-built games, the popular games in our library that Craig mentioned earlier. When you jump into one of our games, you can see there's both video content and PDF content available in case you want to do any pre-learning. We actually like to just jump right into our games for reasons that we'll talk about in a little bit. But as we kind of count down to it, one of the first things you'll see is a few categories of games that are available. And so we'll jump right into just one of the random categories here. Flattering quote from one of our friends on Shark Tank. Mr. Wonderful. No, sorry. That's That's right. Mr. Wonderful jumping in on that for us. Um, Mike alluded to it. The average millennial is a game expert. Um, they are about 55% of our workforce, millennial and Gen Z. So it's important as we think about how we're going to engage the next group. We're thinking about that. And we're also thinking about the attention span that people have. The average attention span is pretty short. So we made sure it takes only a couple of minutes to finish any training in our platform, as Mike alluded to. We also make it really easy to build games. You don't need any technical or design expertise of any kind to do it. And you'll see also as we get into the last pieces of our content here, struggle's a really important part to learning. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, because otherwise we just forget stuff. And that's a big piece of what Mike was alluding to here. You can see again, if you were paying attention to the stats earlier, 87% of training forgotten within 30 days. So we're going to wrap the game up for now. Mike, decent job on the game. You know, I think maybe you got some work to do to catch up to Craig here at the top of our leaderboard. But one other thing that's pretty cool about the platform is you can actually see how Mike's doing across all the games he's played and all of his stats. So, you know, if he earns a trophy or you know has some sorts of achievements, they're stored in the app. You can also see the stats and the different things he's done as he's played games over the lifetime of his 1Huddle usage. And then you can also download and get this scorecard into a bunch of other platforms too, like social and a bunch of other places that would be relevant to share it. So that's just a really quick, I think that was about a 60-second overview of a game. The best thing to do is to play. We'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. But if you want to jump ahead, Mike, to the next screen, we'll talk through a few other things. And you know, we talked a little bit about some of this custom game stuff, and look, we were having fun with that one, but our platform's used for a lot of really serious things too, right? So the communication of the things that are important about your particular brand, whether that's the mission or the history or the team. I can tell you personally, some of the things that I've learned about my teammates stick with me a lot better, and we'll talk about that in a second here, but stick with me a lot better when I do it through this versus just hearing it off the cuff. But we also do all sorts of technical things too, like compliance trainings and more serious trainings like diversity and inclusion and legal and harassment and discrimination trainings, technical trainings like CRM, point of sale systems, software. So there's really, as I think Mike said, there's nothing that you can't learn from a game. And that's really the attitude and the mindset that we have as we approach this, and really the way that our customers are using us today. So Mike, if you want to jump ahead, some of that science we were talking about earlier comes from a couple of different studies that we observed and have seen some really startling consequences from. So first and foremost, material retention. On the left-hand side here, you're going to see what happens when you do a training versus playing through 1Huddle. So at the beginning, like most of us, you go into your one-day seminar. At the end of your one-day seminar, you remember pretty much everything that happened. And then as Mike said, as you go further along, that knowledge really drops, right? What's interesting is through 1Huddle and through struggling through and trying to remember the content, you actually retain and it sticks a lot more. So for example, I remember that one of my coworkers' birthdays is Christmas Eve because I got the question wrong like 6 times as I was trying to do my onboarding training. Or anybody that's ever played Mario Brothers or any video game, you got some lives at the beginning that you lost because you didn't know how the level worked. You didn't know how the game mechanics worked. So part of it is learning and pushing yourself and getting outside of your comfort zone. So instead of starting from a place where you know everything and your brain just goes, oh, okay, I'm good, and then forgets it, you actually start with that sort of shock to the system of, oh, wow, I got to guess at a lot of this stuff and I might be wrong. And it's okay to be wrong because look at the results on the right-hand side. As you get to the remembering and the retention of the content, after 90 days, if you just start with a standard training and a standard live or learning management system training process, you're gonna lose about 90% of that material. It was 87% gone after 90 days. On 1Huddle, you retained 92% of it. You only forgot 8% of the content, and that's because you had to get the question wrong. And your brain goes, oh, wait a minute. All right, next time I'm not going to get that wrong, right? You ever called a coworker the wrong name? I have, and it's painful, but you remember that person's name going forward, right? That same sort of mindset and that same sort of struggle and repetition is what builds competency. So at the beginning, you'll see it's actually very interesting. In the first 3 to 7 days, you know less of the content than you knew when you started on a learning management or on a live training. But by the seventh day, you know about the same because you forgot so much of it from the live training, but you were building that competency up from scratch in 1Huddle. Mike, you want to jump to the next one? So the way that we look at it is this is an opportunity for you to move forward fast and not have to retrain and retrain and retrain on the same things over and over again. So we are used really scientifically to accelerate learning processes and to stop that forgetting process. So you don't have to keep retraining. And using 1Huddle as a pre-learning ahead of some of these modules is also a great way to push people into struggle and getting a little bit uncomfortable so that they get out of that comfort zone. And then it's also a great way as you get past that session to reinforce and assess the learning. Another great way that we're used is for us to be able to launch products with companies. So if you are authoring content, if you're doing a new product launch with us, it takes usually less than 10 minutes. It doesn't take weeks or months or anything like that. You don't have to go through any game design expert or vendor to build content out. It's really a great way to get decentralized workforces, which is essentially all of our workforces now, on the same page a lot faster, whether that's with marketing collateral or it's product knowledge or compliance or anything that your company does. And then lastly, it is more than just a training. You know, we've all sat through kind of painful and drug out training events or summits or conferences, and you're just getting stuff thrown at you like crazy. One of the great things that we do is we help people power those things and test and retain for, are you paying attention? Can you remember that thing after you walk out of the conference that night? Mike, what was it? What are the airport comment that one of your clients used?
Airport amnesia. So they send their sales reps. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the clients we have says that they have their sales reps go on a call with a client, and in the days that everybody flew on airplanes, they would go, and by the time they got to the airport, they were finding so many of their sales reps had forgotten or just couldn't remember what was going on in that meeting to the extent that they could recall it, right? So when we think about the retainment and the knowledge that we're trying to push for recall on, using games and using some ways to push and test for retention, it's a lot better than facing some of those airport amnesia moments that we all run into after conferences or events. So really, that's what we have for today, and I'll just say first and foremost, appreciate the time and the opportunity to connect with everybody in the call. I certainly want to give us an opportunity to take any questions that might come up, but also want to invite everyone here. Please, as you see here, and certainly Craig, feel free to share the contact info for both Mike and myself. Please feel free, email us for access to our restart guide and our back to work playbooks that are sort of separate independent pieces that we've created to help everybody at the Middlesex Chamber be ready to come back to work and really test for some of the key knowledge that we're seeing being shared across some of the clients that we have in the region and across the country. But certainly happy to answer any questions. And obviously, the most important thing here is access to the platform. So, Mike, if there's nothing else you want to add, I'd love to turn it over to Craig and talk through what comes next for that.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's good on my side. Again, anybody that would like access to our restart guide, which we a checklist on things to pay attention to as when it comes to training communication as we get back to work. And our back to work playbook is actually a pack of games that we're offering to those that are interested on things, everything from remote work to COVID-19, how to be safe, mental wellness, pretty much anything that somebody might need to know coming back to work from this. So nothing else from my side. We can certainly share it back over to Craig.
Gentlemen, excellent job, and I really appreciate the overview you just went through. And one thing that I would definitely encourage, and I really like what you brought up on this, Kirk, is there's one question that I mentioned I got wrong on that networking game, and it was the maximum amount of time you should take to follow up with somebody. And I just want everyone to know, I ran it through Jim Barnowski of Sandler Training, and he agreed with the answer to the question.
Awesome.
Great.
So one thing that I think everyone will find that's really cool about the platform is when we do our trainings that we have, it's going to be in there. One thing that we're looking to do with this too is to put in member videos and questions, so everyone gets a chance to get to know the members. This is about a two-way engagement, because I really love, Kirk, what you said there about in terms of someone's birthday. My wife literally said to me the other day that I can never remember anyone's birthday, and she's tired of having to remind me all the time.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Our one of our head ops person, Bree, is born December 24th, and I faced the question like 3 or 4 times. And I'm sure that what's unique and interesting too, by the way, about the platform is if I'm doing particularly badly on that question, we have a really strong AI backend that just kind of randomizes and keeps serving that question up. If I keep nailing it, it's going to subtly back it out a little bit so that the game remains challenging for us. So there's some uniqueness there. And unfortunately, I kept getting it wrong, so it kept getting served up to me.
I have to say that, that's one of the nice things about this. And what I would say to everybody, and one thing we're going to set with this is, feel free to take any game at any time. And if you get the questions wrong, this is a judgment-free environment. All we want people to do is get a learn, engage, and connect. And the better your skills are, the better we're going to do as an organization. I mean, I learned how to be a better networker. I think there's tools in here that help us get better every day, and there's a huge catalog of games. So one thing we're going to do with the daily update is we'll have a game of the week, just like we have a question of the week, and we'll have a competition. This way, it's going to encourage everyone to get out there. You can share this. We're going to set up a landing page on the website. If you take a look under our contact page under the website now in the chamber, you're going to see a lot of options that are there. You can submit an open job posting. You can submit a promotion. There's a new contact form that's built into it. We're also going to have this set up for you to be able to request access to your 1Huddle application. Or you can just send me an email, and I'll give you access to everyone in your organization that needs it. This way, we're going to have a great way to get people engaged, connected, and really involved with it. So one thing that I thought was really important about this is the ability for it to be accessible on mobile phones. I remember when I managed my technicians at Coca-Cola, they loved their mobile devices and would do any training on their mobile device. If I had to put them on an LMS platform on a computer, it was like the end of the world. So this allows people to engage and connect based on the platform that they feel comfortable with, which is only going to make them more willing to want to get involved with it, to do things. And this is going to be more than an LMS platform. It's going to be a way for us to share information, collaborate, engage, and really put together some really cool stuff, all within one endeavor. Now, one thing that I think is really great about this is that if your organization really likes it and you want to go to an upgraded package with the 1Huddle team, there's the ability to do that through the chamber, that you can talk to and engage and kind of really build out the application with your own custom branding. To give you an idea, of course, if the chamber's doing it, that gives you an idea of the level of affordability that's available with this, which I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised with. And the service that we've gotten with it, with the team, has just been absolutely fantastic and really helping us make this be custom branded, put it together, and the simplicity to do this. So if I can put the games together in under 10 minutes, I think all of you will be fine as well. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is open it up for Q&A. Each one of you, I'll reach out to you with access to the portal. You'll get a follow-up email from me that will allow you to go ahead and get in and start playing with it and get a feel for it. But if you have any questions, I'd ask one of two things. Either put it in the Q&A over to your left or raise your hand. While I'm giving an open platform for that, let me go ahead and I'm going to put together the poll question. So feel free to raise your hand or ask a Q&A, and I'll give you about a minute or so if you would like to do so.
Craig, you've made it too easy on us. Nobody wants to ask anything.
Well, we'll see in a second. So what I would ask for everybody is if you'd go ahead and just tell us if this program is helpful. Most of the time, all my Q&A questions come after the program. That seems to be our trend. I think it's because my sense of humor scares them. So I just want to say to everyone, thank you for completing the poll. We had 100% of the folks said that this program was helpful. So Kirk, Mike, outstanding job. I'll take a look here real quick to see if we have any questions. We don't right now. So everyone that's on the call today, look for me to send a follow-up note out to you. This will give you the opportunity to access the platform. It's available via web and also on the mobile app. One important thing that I want to share with you, when you start a game, you have to finish the game, or that's pretty much what you need to do. Mike was educating me the other day. I had to stop halfway through because I got a phone call. So just fair warning to everybody. If you have to close out of the game, you don't get the points for it, but you can go take it another time. Mike, did I get that correct?
Yeah, so just in essence, you can't like start a game and then exit out and go back into it. Certainly, though, we've kind of designed this being that it's mobile. Like if you're taking this in a taxi ride or a subway when things kind of get back to normal and you hit a tunnel, that game will still be there for you at the end of the, when we establish internet connection or connection to the cellular network back. But absolutely, the game's, again, being only 90 seconds in nature. If you don't know an answer, just keep going through it. You don't have to exit out to revisit the material. So you hit that on the head, Craig. If we take a webinar from Middlesex and we convert it, you can either jump into the game and watch that webinar if you'd like to, or maybe you missed the webinar and you just want to get some of the key takeaways. You can just play that game a few times, 90 seconds each, and the more you play it, the more you'll get accustomed to the material. So yeah.
Fantastic. So thank you very much, Mike. Kirk, thank you very much. Either one of you, any closing words before we finish up?
No, I just want to again say thank you and genuinely appreciate the opportunity to work with you and everyone at the Chamber. It's just a fantastic experience, Craig, and hopefully everyone can see some value here in the partnership that you've put together with us, and we're certainly open to help and open for business.
I really appreciate that, Kirk. I mean, from a leadership perspective, you guys have been fantastic. And one thing that I think we all know for us to be successful, and chambers of commerce are great examples of this, is private-public partnerships are extremely important for success. And those have to be mutually beneficial for everybody. And one thing we're looking to do at the Chamber here is to create opportunities and create as many successful partnerships as we can to give as many resources and as many connections as we can to our membership base, our community, for us to all move forward in a positive light. So I just really want to thank you guys for all of that.
It's our pleasure, and have a great rest of the day. We appreciate being included.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kirk. And thank you to everybody. Have a wonderful day, and please look for my follow-up note later today. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.